the brink of extinction. The sky over Fort Calyx was black with smoke, the horizon burning as the last of humanity's defenses crumbled. General Adrian Vogt stood on the shattered command deck, watching his forces fight and die on the war-torn fields below. The Gorvek Dominion had breached the outer defenses. They were coming. "This is it," Vogt muttered, gripping the rail. "We're finished." Captain Lin Tanaka, standing beside him, refused to accept it. "We still have troops on the ground. If we can hold the citadel for another day, we won't last an hour." Volk's voice was hollow. "The Dominion has crushed every human world before us. We were supposed to be the last stand." He exhaled. "And we failed." Outside, the alien war machines pressed forward, spiny insectoid behemoths that tore through human barricades like paper. The Gorvek were creatures of engineered perfection, towering warriors with blade-like limbs and exoskeletal plating stronger than steel. Humanity had fought them for decades, but now there was nowhere left to retreat. A burst of static from the comms interrupted them. General Vogt, a technician, called incoming transmission from the Dominion flagship. "The High Imperator demands an answer." Vogt closed his eyes. He knew what they wanted: surrender or extinction. The holoscreen flickered, revealing High Imperator Dreshkor. The alien warlord loomed in his crimson battle carapace, black eyes glittering with cruel satisfaction. "Human commander," Dreshkor hissed, his mandibles clicking. "You have fought well for lesser creatures. But now kneel. Your species dies today unless you submit to the Dominion." Vogt clenched his fists. Could he do it? Could he sign humanity's death warrant and hope for mercy? He opened his mouth. Then the alarm screamed. Something pierced the sky, moving too fast for sensors to track. A single, burning dropship ripped through Gorvek formations, smashing into the courtyard below in a shower of fire and debris. Silence. Vogt turned to Tanaka. What the hell was that? Then the dropship opened. From the wreckage emerged a figure clad in black. Tall, scarred, eyes glowing with cold blue cybernetics. The woman walked through the flames as if she had conjured them herself. The air around her felt heavy wrong. The soldiers watching stumbled back in fear. Vogt knew her name before she spoke. Everyone had heard the rumors, the stories. The witch. She walked to the command deck, meeting Volk's stunned gaze. "You're Adrian Vogt." Her voice was like a knife. "That means you're in charge." He swallowed. "Ah, yes." She stepped closer. "Not anymore." Vogt blinked. "Excuse me?" The witch turned to the battlefield, eyes scanning the chaos. Calculating. Then she smiled, a cold, ruthless thing. "You think this war is lost," she murmured. "No. Now it begins, the witch's war." The silence after her arrival was heavier than the smoke-choked air. Every soldier in Fort Calyx stood frozen, staring at the woman who had walked through fire and claimed command with nothing but a whisper. Vogt finally found his voice. "Who the hell do you think you are?" The witch turned, fixing him with those cold, cybernetic eyes. "Lyris Vex." She said it like a death sentence. "I don't have time for questions. You're losing this war because you fight like humans. That ends now." Captain Lin Tanaka, standing at Volk's side, bristled. "And what do you fight like?" Vex's lips curled. "A monster." She didn't wait for permission. She strode past them, stepping onto the command platform and scanning the battle below. The Gorvek swarms were advancing, their massive war beasts pounding through the last human barricades. The few remaining artillery turrets were firing in vain. Vex's voice was sharp as a blade. "Pull back every frontline unit immediately. Bring them inside the perimeter." Vogt gaped. "You want us to retreat? We're barely holding." "You're not holding anything." Vex's tone was final. "You're just dying slower. Fall back now." Tanaka studied her, frowning. Then she turned to the comms officer. "You heard her. Pull them in." Vogt shot Tanaka a look, but the orders were already given. Across the battlefield, human soldiers abandoned their failing defenses, falling back toward the citadel. The Gorvek, seeing their enemy retreat, charged forward with reckless hunger. Vex smiled. "They think they've won," she murmured. "Let's show them what real war looks like." She turned to a waiting officer. "Release the Reapers." Confused, Vogt turned to Tanaka. But before she could answer, the walls of Fort Calyx came alive. Dark, sleek drones, human-made machines of war, long banned for their brutality, burst from hidden chambers, rushing toward the advancing enemy like a storm of metal. The Reapers were autonomous kill drones, their programming simple. Identify targets, inflict maximum suffering, leave none alive. They moved faster than human soldiers, weaving through the battlefield with inhuman precision. Their weapons didn't just kill, they screamed. A horrifying, synthetic wail of human agony erupted from their speakers as they tore into the Gorvek ranks. Panic spread through the alien forces. The predators had never been hunted before. Voke watched, horrified and awed. "This is efficient," Vex said coldly. The battlefield shifted. Gorvek hordes broke rank, trying to flee. The once unstoppable Dominion stumbled, fear creeping into their ranks. Vex watched without blinking. "Weak." Voke turned to her. This isn't war. This is slaughter." Vex's cybernetic eyes glowed brighter. "That's the point." She turned back to the battlefield. The hollowing begins. The counteroffensive, a nightmare for the enemy. The night sky above Fort Calyx burned with the wreckage of fallen Gorvek warships. Their once relentless siege had collapsed into chaos. What had started as humanity's final battle had turned into a massacre, but not for the humans. Lyris Vex stood on the observation deck, her cybernetic eyes tracking every movement below. The Gorvek, so confident in their dominance, were breaking. She turned to Captain Lin Tanaka. "The enemy is panicked. Now we hunt." Tanaka hesitated. This wasn't war. War had rules, limits. This was something else. General Voke, still struggling to accept the brutal shift, clenched his fists. "We've forced them back. Their formations are broken. Isn't that enough?" Vex tilted her head. "Enough." Her tone was almost amused. "They didn't stop when they burned our colonies. When they bombed civilians just to watch us die. Now you want to show mercy?" Voke exhaled sharply. "I want us to be better than them." Vex stepped closer, eyes like frozen steel. "That's why you were losing." She turned to the holomap, her fingers tapping rapidly on the interface. The Gorvek retreat paths lit up in red. "Here's what happens next," she said. "They think they're retreating. They're not. We're hurting them." Tanaka's brows furrowed. "Hurting them where?" Vex smiled. "Into their own grave." A ripple of unease passed through the command staff. Volk's voice was quieter this time. "What are you planning?" Vex activated the next phase of her plan. False transmissions flooded the Gorvek comm channels. Decrypted orders, fake but indistinguishable from real ones, spread confusion. Commanders barked contradictory orders. Some Gorvek legions turned on each other, thinking their squads had gone rogue. And all the while, human forces pressed forward, forcing them deeper into a kill zone. Then, the final blow. Bioplague warheads detonated in the heart of their retreat paths. The air filled with a colorless, odorless toxin, harmless to humans, but lethal to the Gorvek. Their superior genetics, once their greatest strength, betrayed them. Their bodies convulsed, their own biological enhancements failing them as their lungs filled with burning rot. The great and mighty Gorvek Dominion, the architects of humanity's destruction, were screaming. The battlefield became silent, not from peace but from total devastation. Voke turned away, jaw tight. Tanaka, ever the soldier, kept her composure, but there was something in her eyes now, something like fear. Vex watched the carnage, expression unreadable. "This is how you win," she murmured. "Not by fighting fair. Not by playing their game. You end them." No one spoke. There was nothing left to say. The hollowing was complete, total victory at any cost. The Gorvek mothership loomed above the battlefield, a monstrous construct of black metal and pulsing biotech. It had been the seat of their power, the command center that orchestrated humanity's extermination. Now, it was a tomb waiting to be sealed. Lyris Vex stood in the assault dropship, silent as the strike team prepared. Around her, human soldiers adjusted their gear, their faces set with grim determination. General Voke and Captain Tanaka had tried to argue, but Vex had given a simple answer. "You want this war to end? Then we cut off its head. The Gorvek were already broken. The hollowing had shattered their armies. Their survivors were running, leaderless, terrified. But the war wasn't over until the High Imperator bled. The dropship's doors hissed open, revealing the hangar of the mothership. The air inside was thick with alien pheromones, the scent of panic. The humans stormed in. The Gorvek elite guard, once unstoppable warriors, were nothing but cornered animals. Some still fought, their bladed limbs slashing through the air, but they had already lost. The humans moved like executioners, calm, methodical, ruthless. Vex barely slowed down. Every bullet she fired found a target. Every strike shattered armor. She moved like a phantom, her cybernetic reflexes making her untouchable. The corridors ran red with alien blood. They reached the throne chamber. The doors sealed shut behind them. At the center of the room, standing on a dais of black stone, was High Imperator Dreshkor. He did not cower. He did not plead. He simply watched Lyris with those black, gleaming eyes. "You are no ordinary human," he rasped. His voice was weaker than before. "What are you?" Vex stepped forward, gun raised. "I am what your kind created," she said. "I am the reason your dominion dies here." Dreshkor bared his fangs. "Then do it." Vex didn't hesitate. One shot, right between his cold, alien eyes. The High Imperator of the Gorvek Dominion collapsed, his lifeless body slumping to the floor. The war was over. Aftermath. In the days that followed, word spread across the stars. The Gorvek Dominion was shattered. Their fleets abandoned their war. Their surviving soldiers fled. Humanity had not just won. It had conquered. At Fort Calyx, General Voke sat in the command chamber, staring at reports from across the sector. No more enemy transmissions. No more invasions. Lyris Vex was nowhere to be found. Only a single message remained in her wake, sent to the highest-ranking officers. "War is not over. It never is. Be ready." Captain Tanaka stood beside Voke, watching the flickering holoscreen. "Do you think she'll come back?" Voke exhaled. "God help us if she does."